Welcome to today's webinar about how to sue the child support agency or people who work for the child support. My name's Chris, and you may have seen me on the Long Island Backstory with Gary, where I talk about my lawsuit against the child support agency, my multiple lawsuits. In this session, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I took in order to launch my lawsuit against the child support, and you can follow those steps as well. In addition, I will be starting a YouTube channel fairly soon where I'll post videos, I'll post regulations, precedents, case laws, and documents templates in which you could use in your lawsuit. Now, this particular introductory session may not be on the YouTube site when it gets started, but others will follow. In today's session, we will be talking about the things you need in order to file a lawsuit. For example, you need documents, you need witnesses, you need facts. You also need burden of proof. You need to understand the laws of how to win. You need to have knowledge of the court, rules, procedures. Also, we will review what is called the Department of Justice letter, as well as the child support enforcement updates since January 2017, and we'll pay particular close attention to a case, a DMV case in New Jersey. Now, throughout this presentation, I have a section called Call to Action, and this is the first one, where I ask you to do a little bit of homework. So in this call to action, I'm asking you to assemble all the documents that you have communicated with the child support agency and the courts, as well as all the documents they have sent you. And you're going to pay attention to the names, the autographs, the signatures of everyone that's on that document. You will need that in order to assemble your lawsuit. You can contact me via email, and all I ask is that be specific and concise in your questioning, and I'll do my best to answer it. Also, I'm humbly asking for a donation. As you know, this filing a lawsuit takes time to do the research, and I'm just reaching out for support. We'll be hosting several videos specifically around the topic of being successful in your lawsuit. We will cover defenses such as motion to dismiss, fraudulent concealment. We will also cover topics that's important, such as the role of your employer in the child support process. The millennials, the new parents, what they should be looking out for when they enter your attorney, the roles and responsibilities of your attorney. Also, after this session, we will give you documents. For example, we'll give you the Department of Justice letter. We'll provide you with the decision on the DMV case. It's a great decision, as well as the updates to the child support enforcement, because you need to know the changes to the rules, as well as we're looking into other documents. For example, in some of the counties, you have to file what is called a letter of intent. In other words, you need to file a claim or to notify them that you are filing a lawsuit. So we will look into that. Now, why do you want to file a lawsuit against child support agency? Well, in college, I read a book called The Art of War. And The Art of War by Sun Tzu talks about how to engage your enemies. These are strategies for you to engage your enemy. And one strategy I like, it says, the best way to defeat your enemy is to get them out of your life. That's how I feel about child support. They should remove it from your life. Imagine if you're in a child support contract, you're there for approximately 10 to 18 years. That's very long. The other quote that I like is from Michael Corleone, which he says, keeps your friends close and your enemies closer, from the Godfather series. Now, how long does it take for you to assemble all the things you need for your lawsuit It does not take that long, but it depends on your individual process. It depends on the time you have, how much you want to devote to it. However, you will need certain key components in order to launch a successful lawsuit. You need documents, you need the cause of action, you need knowledge of the courts, you need to draft your complaint, your pleadings, you need your summons and motion. Now, anyone can grab a template and just fill it out and then start a lawsuit. However, you need to be able to support a lawsuit. And I think this is what's missing from everyone who's tried this. You have to sustain the legal word, a lawsuit, because it's not going to end in 30 days. It's not going to end in 2 weeks once you begin. Now, the foundation of starting a lawsuit is where? Well, you start off with deprivation of rights under the color of law. As you may know, the child support agency, whether it's federal or state, does not come under the Article 3 judicial branch. However, in order to bring them into the judicial branch, you have to file a lawsuit, what they call standing. And we're going to be using deprivation of rights. Now, once you've assembled all the components for your lawsuit, where do you file it? Well, the conventional wisdom is you file it at the local level, at the state level, the county level. But you can actually file it in federal court. Here on the screen, I'm showing you that you can file it both in state or local court, and you will have standing within both of those courts to file the deprivation of rights lawsuit. Now, filing a lawsuit will take time. It's not easy. However, rest assured that as a pro se or pro per, the Supreme Court says it is okay for you to file a lawsuit as long as you follow certain guidelines. We will not hold you to the standards of an attorney, but you must at least include a clear explanation of what the lawsuit is, but you have to follow the rules of the court. In Haynes versus Kerner, that was their decision. Now, what's the game plan? You got to have a game plan. Well, the game plan is you're the plaintiff, and you're going to be filing summons, complaints, affidavits, motions, discoveries, deposition. And one of the things that you're going to learn in our future webinar series is a subpoena. The subpoena is one of your most powerful tools to use in the courts. And you need to learn how to use that. You compel someone to either produce documents or to compel the body of a person to come to court to answer questions. Now, the child support is not going to just take what you say and just lay down. They're going to come after you. And they're going to use absolute immunity, qualified immunity, Rooker-Feldman, 11th Amendment. We'll be preparing for that. How much does it cost to launch a lawsuit? Well, according to Duke law, it costs about $20,000 if you have an attorney to launch a lawsuit. Rest assured, it won't cost you that much. There's just court fees, filing fees, but you can do this if you choose not to go the route without an attorney. Documents and templates. The district courts, the local courts, the county courts has templates regarding filing complaints and summons. I suggest for your region, you get those documents because they'll have the foundation for the procedures and the rules. What you're going to be filling in is all the components that goes in there. But remember, as an individual filing a lawsuit, you need to follow the rules of the court. And what better place to start than the documents? So go ahead on the website, download those templates, review them, because all of your information will be put into those documents. Where do you get information about filing a lawsuit? I have found that the Department of Justice letter that was issued in 2016 is a great place to start. It's a roadmap for due process violation. For example, you want to file a lawsuit against your employer. You want to file a lawsuit against the support magistrates, judges, surrogates, police officer, correctional staff. This is a place to start. It has case laws, it has substantive precedents, it has statutes and regulations. It is a great sort of starting place. Now, let's take one of those points inside Justice Department letter. Page 3, it talks about incarceration and due process. It's the famous case of Turner versus Rogers, where it says that due process violation has occurred if you don't give the person opportunity to challenge the incarceration or the contempt hearing. It's not only just for child support, but it's also for a police encounter as well. So you have those two opportunities in which to use this section of the DOJ letter for research in order to fight your case. Now, other lawsuits you can bring are against support magistrates and for housing payment. Again, we're dealing with laws of contract, breach of contract, fraudulent concealment. That's what we're fighting. Property theft all falls under contract. Let's deal with the support magistrate. Now, you entered the child support system through what is called a support magistrate. In all jurisdictions, a support magistrate is not a judge. The function is not a judge. Even if it's being conducted by a judge, the person is acting not as a judge. And here are the case laws to show and prove that. Which means you can challenge jurisdiction at any time. This is a New York case, but it applies to all cases. Burns versus Burns. You can challenge jurisdiction at the start of every tribunal before a magistrate. It is within your right to do so. This is one of your remedy for due process violation. Now, I've heard people say, oh, they tried talking to the judges say no, and they stop. No, push forward. We will do a course on jurisdictional challenge, which will be very effective. If you can avoid any confrontation with the support magistrate, the opportunity is under jurisdiction. Now let's move to housing and payments. Now, upon calculating of the child support, one of the things that must be removed is housing payment. Now, they don't do it, and I've heard the cases, I've seen the cases, they don't do it. But it is part of the law, again, a due process violation. You must take out housing cost in order to calculate the child support. This is a remedy. In your case, if this is not done or not complete, you have the foundation for a lawsuit. Again, the reasons for a lawsuit. Here's another section I have, a call to action. Again, the call to action is where things I'm asking you to do in order to support your lawsuit. Here we talk about the elements. And under breach of contract and breach of fiduciary, you need to understand the elements. The elements are important. When your case, you file your case before the court and they decide to dismiss it, they usually dismiss it what is called failure to state a cause of action because you did not meet the elements of the cause of action. This is where you want to make sure that you understand the steps and procedures for breach of contract or breach of fiduciary, because those are going to be the two cause of action you will use in your lawsuit. You will use others. You will use negligence. You will use abuse of power, but you need your foundation. Okay, how did you get into child support? It's not that important. The point is, you got in there by either force or inducement. They use things such as paternity establishment, modification reviews, all these things. The point is, it's a performance contract and they need your consent, or they need you in there by force. The other thing they do, it's a subscription performance contract, which means it's renewed automatically every year. Those are one of the elements of a contract, which is it's renewed. So this is where they force you into these contracts. Now, child support is a business. It is a business that generates a lot of revenues for the state. In 2015, the child support agency became a $28 billion a year business. And how that relates is for every dollar that the state spends, they reimburse them up to $5 or more, depending on the state. Can you imagine a business model like that, where you're getting 5 times the revenue by spending $1? Now, how did that translate? In 2015, Snapchat was about a $2 billion a year business. Now they just got started. Twitter was also about a $2 billion a year business. So at that point, the child support agencies was larger than those two companies. That's how big this is. And because of the revenues, the child support agencies, they will be fighting you. They will fight you if you want to file a lawsuit. They will fight you to get out of a performance contract. They will do everything in their power to ensure that that revenue coming to the state remains intact for at least 18 years. This is the reason why you want them out of your life. Art of war. Now, how do they keep you in these performance contracts? Well, as a business, they also are allowed to enter into written agreement or contracts with other agencies or businesses. For example, they enter into a contract with the police and correction staff. They enter a contract with the private prisons and the detention centers and the courts and the attorneys and judges. They even do profit and non-profit agencies to handle custody issues. In other words, it is all one giant contract with many subcontracts. In the famous case of U.S. versus Sage, the justices decided that child support is nothing more than an interstate contract. To think otherwise is just plain wrong. So this is what they do to keep you in these contracts. Again, they will employ anything by any means. Now, with $28 billion in revenues, you pretty much can buy any services that will keep you in a contract. Now, let's pause for a moment and let's review the case of the Department of Motor Vehicles in what is called the suspensions of your driver's license. Now, this case was decided on January 2019, a few months ago. The case is called Cavadas versus Martinez. Now, these were a group decided that they were going to take on the DMV because they could not pay their child support payments. They could not pay their arrears. So they decided to launch this case. Now, in addition to this case, they had other people helping them, such as the ACLU and a few other agencies stepped in on the case. In the end, after several years, it was decided that this was a due process violation. At the start of this webinar, I said to you that due process violation is one of the elements of a lawsuit. This DMV lawsuit is excellent in terms of the documents, in terms of a template, in terms of the research, in terms of everything. This is a start. The judge in 187, she listed all the possibilities and all the elements that you would use to successfully defeat the Department of Motor Vehicles. This is the case to use. This is what I call blueprint. Okay? So this is one of your lawsuits. Now, that was New Jersey. Now, one would say, well, how does this relate to New York, Washington, California? Well, a Supreme Court rule that says any case that's settled in one state, you should be recognized in another state. That is, the DMV decision was found unconstitutional in New Jersey. You could use it in New York. Another thing that Justice Marshall said was, if a circuit court decision was settled in one circuit, it should be accepted and recognized in another circuit. That means you have a blueprint to launch a lawsuit in any territory, in any county, in any circuit court, and you have an opportunity to win. So that's what the DMV case, that's why I like it so much, because it just puts together a roadmap of what one should know. Now, this brings us to the end of this introductory seminar. I hope I've given you some ideas. I hope I've put you on the road towards filing a lawsuit. The goal, I think, is to file 100,000 lawsuits against the child support agency so that you remove yourself from it. In addition, we'll put together other videos that would help to support this endeavor for filing a lawsuit. Now, as I said earlier, I can be reached via email, and this brings us to the end of this webinar. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to communicating with you. Take care and bye.